Okay, so welcome everyone. So this is week second of our prayers and meditations, part 3. And we have prayers of November 19 and 26, 1912 with us, and the talk by Dr. Alok Pandey. So let us start sharing our reflections of going through these two prayers. I don't know if you were able to go to through the full prayers, although the talk only shares the last half, contemplates more on the last half of both the prayers, November 19 and 26, 1912. So we can go here and there. If you have studied the prayer and there is something that you would like to share, please, that would be really nice. So please begin sharing.
Yeah, I'll start. So even the topic itself, you knew that something really beautiful is coming. Contemplating the divine everywhere. I'm so sorry. Everywhere and in all things. And yeah. So the things that I resonated with or that I found interesting were like that sentence that one must clean our mind space. You know how like about that bathing they were talking. And then this you can go to the surface or deep within. So every time you're presented with any situation that is kind of a bit challenging or tends to disturb your peace or anything, you can go to the surface or deep within. You have that choice. And that was very interesting about sanitizing. So sanitizing our minds with the nectar of divine consciousness. So if you have to sanitize, you can do it with that. And yeah, so every day give bath to the soul. It was again related to must clean a mind space. So if you have like, if you have to choose, give bath to the soul. And I really like this statement that all bodies, human, animal, plants, rocks, minerals, mountains, rivers, and this whole universe is the body of the Lord. This is not my body, this is not my life, this destiny is not my destiny. Let us hand it over to the divine, that is the truth. And right after that, it said that, the vastness itself will liberate us. So, a lot of times, like, and I've heard it from a lot of people that when we go to, say, hills or, when we're in front of the ocean, suddenly you are more grounded, right? Suddenly it just feels like, I don't know, for me, I feel I can see my place in the world. Like, when you see such vastness. So I really like this, that the vastness itself will liberate us. And then we dwell not only in this body, but every body in the universe. Same I that dwells. And yeah, and I think one of the last things was that this suffering and pain, when we turn it within, can become like a sharp edge of a sword instead of outside for an outer battle. So again, it was similar to, you have a choice to, what was that? I forgot. To go to the surface or deep within. You can either just keep fighting the battles outside, or you can go within and get to the source. And the reverse contagion, the contagion, like if you had to have to spread, like spread the beauty. And I think you say that a lot as well. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, really beautiful. Yes. I think most of the life, we don't even realize that we have a choice. So it's a blessing when we have this recognition that, oh my God, I always have a choice. I can choose either to stay on the surface or to go within. Because most of the time it seems that we don't have a choice. But then we are able to wake up to this so called free will that has been granted to each one of us. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
I
Okay,
can
so
go, Monica.
yes, please.
Yeah. Actually, when I read these prayers, especially after I heard the talk, these prayers, no, mother's prayers, actually, it gave me a feeling of that vast. I mean, Mother, Supreme Mother is as vast as universe and more than that, actually. I feel that vastness, but if we nestle in that vastness, we also will get that same feeling. I feel like that when I read these prayers, actually. And also, especially, Alokda is mentioned about that bath of the Lord. No? That is a very touching thing, actually. I feel if we can daily do that, bath of the sweet mother, actually, if we, yeah, it will be very nice. And that nice and very pleasant feeling came to me when I watched that bath of the Lord, actually. And also, as Alokda mentioned, in this pandemic, we are able to go inward a lot. No, I mean, though journey is long, but now I feel it is a sudden leap, actually. So this in this way, that pandemic is helping me a lot, actually. And also, I feel this prayers, no, these two prayers we can address to mother from our side, actually, especially this November 19th prayer, that small second paragraph, no, what an appeasing assurance there is in this serene confidence in thy all might. And also that November 26th, second para, it is thou that makest the experience fertile, thou who renderest life progressive, thou who compellest the darkness to vanish in an instant before the light. These lines, I feel we can address our mother to pray to her, actually. So these things came to me.
Yeah,
Uh, thank you very much.
beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. You know, in this bath that you have both referred to, this nectar of divine consciousness. You know, so in the morning I was downstairs just having a walk in the morning, and these nice winter flowers are there. More, you know, they look like sunflowers, little orange and yellow flowers. So many honeybees are there nowadays, sitting on the flowers and sucking the nectar. And it was almost just like what we are sharing together today, that you know, the more we bask in that divine nectar, that inner presence, the more we bask in that, it's as if that when I go out in the world, which is actually very important, we must go out in the world, because that is where the real challenge lies. And when we go out, it's like that nectar that I had been nurturing myself with, it goes out and manifests as honey. You know, so there is more and more sweetness that comes to life. Just like honeybees, they keep on sucking the nectar from these flowers, and when they make, what they make is this sweet honey, right? So almost that kind. So, and this is what is the transformation of the outer consciousness that we talk about, that there is more and more this deeper inner realization of our divine presence, and more connection with that. And then when that manifests out in actions, in speech, in behavior, in our worldly day-to-day activities, that becomes more and more sweeter, more and more luminous, and more and more, you know, less of mixture, emotional mixture is present there, the ego mixture that usually is present. Yeah. So who else would like to share? So Yashoji and Jyotsna ji, if you are ready, you can share now, or if you want to share later, that is also okay.
Later.
Okay, sure. What about you, Yashu? Okay, fine. Great, then. And then let's go ahead and go through bits of the prayer. So, one thing which is very strongly in this prayer coming out is this beauty that it's not that the situations are very easy and easy going, everything is fine. Situations are challenging. We see the years where mother is writing these prayers, the situations around the whole global, the whole global scenario, they are not very easy situations. And when have they been easy? Actually, we have not seen easy times. They've always been some or the other kind of a challenge going on in life, right? Even at a global level also. And that's where the kind of the going deep within is required. Because in usual pleasure, days of pleasure, we don't care to go deep within. We think that sab theek chal raha hai, everything is okay, why must I care to find what is lying deep, hiding within me. So these situations, challenging situations in our personal lives and also in global situations, these are beautiful opportunities to go deep within. Because we see more and more that mind does not have a solution for external situations. Mind is the creator. Mind is the creator of the problems, so-called external problems, and it cannot resolve the problems that itself it has created. So we have to go look for a deeper wisdom which resolves and connects the dots. At the level of the mind, there is rarely that one has really, even in emotional and relationship issues and our own lives, at the level of the mind, it is only confusion that we find. So it's very mandatory for each one of us. It's almost like a birthright, our responsibility to go deep within and find the peace within the chaos, peace in the middle of the chaos. And what a beautiful symbol, lotus symbolizes exactly that. Lotus rises this beauty, from the dirty waters. What a beautiful, magnificent flower coming out of dirty waters. So it really symbolizes, and it's actually a surprise that it is our national flower. I believe, if I'm not wrong, lotus is our national flower. So we must also look beyond these symbols. What are they kind of trying to tell us? Yeah. So this is the end, towards the end of the prayers. Why a surprise? For me a surprise, because yeah, my knowledge is very limited in this domain. Yeah. So when humanity is going through this turmoil, and what should be the approach? How should we be behaving? What should be the attitude? And that is what the prayers kind of shed light upon. What is the right attitude? Yeah. So here Alokda shares, we should start seeing the divine everywhere. When if there is everything, confusion, chaos, all everywhere, there is no clarity that I can find. What to do? What to do? Use your free will. Use your free will and begin to see the divine everywhere. What if? How would I behave if there is only divine everywhere? How would I behave? Because that is the ultimate truth. That is the truth. Rest everything is falsehood. The idea of you and me as separate is falsehood. It's a falsehood. And that is what lives throughout our lives. We'll keep on living this falsehood. So the moment we begin to see everywhere this divine in its manifestation, we see that every opportunity serves as every challenge serves as an opportunity for progress. Because if divine has presented me with this situation, okay, let's see what can I do. Let's see what can I do. So there is this comforting feeling that obviously divine is all that is. So how can it be bad for me? Any challenge, any darkness, any depression, how can it be bad for me? There must be something that I need to learn through it. What is that? Let me see. So the attitude changes the moment we are able to see that. So instead of getting distracted, we should still go still further and further, deeper in our being. There is no end to this going further, deep in the being. And this Taru already shared, that while we are sanitizing our hands so badly, that we should also spend some energy and effort to sanitize our mind space and also make it a daily practice, because the old habits of the mind are dirty practices. The mind has the practice to go back in my story again and again, right? We do that, we see that happening. The past comes in a vigor, with a vigor past comes, and it just sweeps us away. So this must become my daily practice, that the mind should become almost, it should become impossible for the mind to bear any load, so one should feel so uneasy with any amount of load that the mind says, no, this is not right, something is wrong, I'm again sticking to my story, something is wrong. I'm not that, I don't need to stick to my story. So one becomes very, very sensitive to any amount of load that is there. Any amount of load that is there, one becomes very sensitive. And mother also shares this, that one should become very, very sensitive to unease in the being. And that unease is a signal, it is telling me that I'm attaching myself at a wrong place. Yes, Tarun.
Yeah, that reminded me. Actually, I wanted to share something. Once I was listening to some discourse in about Ramcharitmanas, and in that they said that how, now because of the Diwali, we do that annual cleaning, right? Like no matter what, most people, like almost all, they do clean their house during Diwali, and cleaning is such a mess, right? Like cleaning is such not a mess, sorry, such a big job. Like right now, I'm kind of between houses, so all this packing and throwing of the stuff that you don't need, that requires a lot of effort. So in that, they said, okay, it's very, matlab it's possible and it's recommended that you stop hoarding stuff. Like again, those mental mind things that you keep adding on to, because right now, like you're talking about sanitizing, right? So you have to clean it, you have to think ये रखना है, ये छोड़ना है. So in contrast to that, when you receive something, if you pay attention to it right there and then, that do I need to take it in, can I let it go, so
Exactly.
yeah, so it said it very beautifully. I'm not able to say it nicely, that
Beautiful.
it's much like you will be lighter if you
Yes.
can attend to it right there and then, rather than after 2 years, 3 years.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, here. So, Alokda shared that it is the mind space where the infection starts. And I think it's not very hard to agree to that, because we all know that if I am in a state of really full of doubt against the universe, and what is happening, and everybody is trying to victimize me and all that, if full of doubt, full of fear, full of suspicion, what am I doing? Actually, there's only one thing I'm doing. I am identifying with this limited personality, limited person. I am identifying at a wrong place. So some or the other knock from the universe comes, which tells me, babe, you are identifying at a wrong place, wrong place to be. It's not your home. It's not your home. And that can take any form. That signal can take any form. So, and this disharmony is a signal that I am attaching at a wrong place. I am identifying myself wrongly as a limited individuality. I am not that. So disharmony is a manifestation of that identification with a limited self. And then yes, so considering the global situation that we are going through, we are getting a chance to get reconnected. We are getting a chance to get a deeper and deeper connection back with ourselves, which when we were going back to back, offices or offices, no time to attend to, give to ourselves. We did not have that much of space and time that we could contemplate on some deeper presence or whatever. Life was just passing us by. And these phases, global phases in the whole of world, they are giving us this very important time to pause and reflect. Where was I going? How much of that going was necessary, and how much was that kind of just distracting myself from the reality of life, as if one is missing life continuously. Yeah. And also this has made us more connected at a subtle level. Usually when everything was well, we would go out and meet a friend, or we would go out and celebrate together, right? So there was more of physical connection that was there. But now, owing to we cannot do that much, right? It's almost in a force, in a pressure, that we have to connect online. And that is connection at a subtler level. We are understanding what is a heart to heart connection without the need for a physical connection, like meeting a friend, hugging a friend. Even without that, what is a subtler level of connection? So I believe that we have gotten a chance to go there as well, where in normal day to day lives it was not possible. It was just kind of given to us. Yeah. And the only way we can reconnect and unite, not only with the mankind, but with the whole earth, the whole creation, is the only possible way is by discovering the one within us. And when I say within us, not only within us, because when I discover it within us, it is just the same within throughout the existence. So it also connects me to the other at a deeper level, right? And we all love being intimate with each other and finding heart to heart relationships. So this is the cure, the indwelling universal in everything, from within the atom to the grain of sand. The zarra of the creation is full of that presence. But unless I connect with my own inner presence, it is not a possibility that I see that everywhere else. So, or it may start as a concept, it may start as a mental concept, and then I begin more as a felt experience. It is, and then slowly it becomes like a lived experience. So it may start with a mental concept, but again the mind will have to go at some point of time. Then it will more be a felt experience, and then it will be lived experience, like I'm living it out in my daily life. Yeah. And this is what we discussed, right? The nectar, where to bask, where to look for resolutions. This, the nectar of divine consciousness. And we must find time in our day to day lives to go deep and quietly sit with ourselves, maybe at that time doing nothing doing, not even trying to pick up a book, whether it is a spiritual book or anything. It may serve, obviously, prayers and meditations and whatever we are reading, it serves. But it is also very, very important to spend some empty time with oneself, in this divine contemplation, just basking in the divine sun within ourselves. I'm sorry, there is too much of noise in the background. Yes. Okay, that's good. That's good. And this again, Taru already shared that, that if you have the opportunity to choose, you don't have much time, what do you give bath to? Give bath to the soul. Body comes later, but how we live life, body comes first, and not only first, it actually envelops the whole of our life. The needs of the body, the needs of the mind, the abuse of the mind, it just lives throughout a lifetime. We hardly are able to give time to our soul, the need of the soul, the feed of the soul. We are not able to give time to that. So the challenging situations are opportunities where we can do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so sorry. I think it's really funny, how especially like elderly people,
Yeah,
like I don't have to use this word, but in general, they have this fanatism for taking a shower, right? Can a high can in a high can in a high kind, like how it's like they know it has to be clean, but it's just restricted to the body. Like
exactly.
it's like taken as a pride thing कि मुझे तो जब I have even if I have 105 fever, I still take a shower. Look at me, look at my dedication, but
Yeah,
nothing about anything else, just the body. So it's funny as well, but
yeah,
how we kind of take modify things to kind of suit ourselves, and then we
yeah,
feel we should be proud of
yeah.
just following that discipline. But where is that discipline taking me? Yeah.
I think that is also coming from the point that most of our lives and almost a lifetime, we actually identify ourselves as the body. So what am I responsible to do? Clean the body. We do not actually look at the subtle matters of the mind and what is happening, because वो दिखता नहीं है, mind is not visible, feelings are not visible. तो अगर वो हमारे अंदर कचरा मचा भी रहे हैं, कोई दिख तो नहीं रहा, देख तो नहीं रहा. So again, that we begin to more and more identify ourselves as the body. So what to do? Okay, chal clean the body, clean the body. And that's why most of the lifetime, we are almost kind of stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just reminded, if you remember that I think last to last April, when we had attended that workshop in Pondicherry, I think
Yeah.
it was Dr. Yogesh Mohana who said that bathing, like water, has a lot of, I don't know, healing effect,
Yes.
like it's magical or something. And if you do any of your practices after the
Yeah.
shower,
Yeah.
I mean, I could never resonate with that for practical purposes,
I
but probably there could be more to that than
the
I
way we
think.
take a shower, is mostly the shower is taken and the one is not even there,
Yeah,
and then it does not affect, right? But when I'm taking a shower, and it can be done even without taking a shower, you are imagining that you are showering, and the shower is cleaning you of all the mud and dirt and the stickiness on the mind and feelings. It actually makes a difference. So where are we while taking a shower? And if one is not there, then it hardly makes any difference. Yeah.
I have been doing mindfulness whilst taking a shower since the past 4 weeks,
Yeah.
and I find it does make a difference.
Yes.
It, there's something you feel of the purity of water coming on you, cleaning you off, and you tell it to cleanse you within and without, and a lot of bad thoughts go away, and there is a different kind of energizing after the shower if you have a mindful shower.
Exactly. Yes.
I used to think that it doesn't make a difference, but then somebody pointed to me that try mindfulness during a shower instead
Mm.
of trying other techniques, and it does make a difference.
It does make a difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Explanation I don't know yet,
Yeah.
but the effect I have seen on myself, and it's repeatedly occurring 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and I'm telling myself, am I stupid that I'm thinking it is happening? But no, it is happening on a recurrent basis. That means there is some element of some truth in it, but I haven't caught on the reason.
Beautiful.
If someone could explain it to me or tell me, I'd be very happy.
Beautiful. Jyoti, I would say that there are some domains where we don't need any reasons. It's our felt experience, right? It's your felt experience. What more proof do we need? And not everything can be grasped by the domain of the mind, which is reason, right? So let it remain a mystery and enjoy the mindful shower. I would say, why do you want to decode it? It's already so beautiful, the thing that you shared. So why to put it in a cage of the mind and try to interpret it? You know that it is happening for you, and this knowing itself is such a blessing. Yeah.
You actually come out of it so rejuvenated after a mindful shower that you feel, you're cleansed of all the bad thoughts of the previous day, or the day before that passed by, and suddenly you're somebody new.
Beautiful.
Try
Yes.
it.
Yes. बहुत सुंदर. Thank you. So let's go to this passage where uh, Alokda shares the last half of November 19, 1912. Thou art all, everywhere and in all. And this body which acts is thy body, is thy own body, just as the visible universe in its entirety. So the whole of manifestation is nothing but a huge, humongous, unending body of the Lord. Now, what a beautiful contemplation! If one could just rest there for a few minutes. And then we were talking about handing it over to the divine, and there is this talk of Arjun handing over the reins to Krishna. Now, many a times I hear people say that I have handed over the stuff to the divine. Now it is up to the divine, what he does. But there is some kind of a passivity there, right? So that is what I wanted to kind of focus here. That when we are actively when we are actively taking out time in our day to day moments, day to day life, in this inner basking, inner contemplation and reconnection with the divine presence, only then an inner knowing comes forward to guide us. Living in my ego, living in my thoughts, I cannot begin to say that I have handed over things to the divine. It is hypocrisy, it is falsehood. So I'm doing exactly the opposite almost. I'm living as ego, and I'm saying that whatever is happening owing to the divine. This is what is falsehood. So what I have to do, what is my responsibility or collaboration with the divine, is that I have to stop living as a limited ego. I have to stop living as my story. The moment I begin to go into the head, going into my old story, old patterns, that very moment I stop myself. So more and more I come out of the mind rather than going into the mind. It's like I'm using mind less and less. I'm going more by my knowing, by saying, I know I must be doing this because I know this is good for me. Why? I don't have any logical reason. I don't want to put it in words, but I know this is good for me. So going by more and more by this knowing and inner quietude, only then can I say that I have handed over my destiny to the divine. I am handing more and more of it over. Otherwise, acting as a limited ego, acting as my pattern, my own behavior, my own thoughts, I cannot say that, I must not say that I am, I have handed over the stuff to the divine, because that is not what I am doing, right? So here one has to be really sincere in one's practice, what is going on in life. Yeah. So let us free, Alokda shares, let us free our mind from this virus and news coming from everywhere, and for a moment in quietude, contemplate, the vastness of this creation as one humongous body of the Lord. So how can I be separate? How can I exist as a separate individual, limited individual who is threatened by everything else? It is not a possibility that if I contemplate and I still believe that I am threatened. It is not a possibility. Yeah. Yes. And then more and more as we bask in this inner presence, which is dwelling everywhere in the manifestation, what is the outcome? What is the side effect? What is the symptom? There is more and more unreasonable joy that I feel in my being. Delight for no reason. Peace for no reason. Contentment for no reason. So there is no reason there. External situations, relationships may still have issues, but even in the middle of those issues, why is there so much of contentment and peace within? The more and more we bask in this indwelling presence, the more and more this comes out, in our day-to-day activities. And this is what is so liberating. Alokda shares that this vastness will liberate us. Liberate us, why? Because we are trapped thinking that I am this separate individuality which is threatened by rest of the world. The more I contemplate on the vastness as the humongous body of the Lord, and me and the others just one, as the humongous parts of that body. So where is the difference? How am I trapped? I am not trapped anywhere then. All is one. But how much time do I take out in my day-to-day activities to give time to this silent contemplation. That also matters, because the habit of the mind is so old that it takes time to now transform the character of the mind. It almost kind of taking back mind to its origin, to its original source from which it originated. And it's hard work, and that's why it has to be done continuously. And even those of us who are on this path, they feel this beauty of the path, so there is nowhere to reach. The path itself is so beautiful that one can be grateful every day to be on this path. That itself is full of kind of contentment. Yes. And this also reminded me while I was going through the transcript. Keep sharing whenever you have anything in between. Kabir has this doha, bandhe ko bandha mila, chhoote kaun upay, kar bandgi nirbandh ki, pal mein le chudaye. Our relationships are like, I am tied and you are tied. Let us get tied together. This is how our relationships are. I am tied with my own limited patterns. You are tied with my own limited patterns. Now let us tie each other to, so that we cannot move, we cannot go live as an individual human being. And then Kabir says that kar bandgi nirbandh ki. You must be serving only that who is not a servant to anyone. Who is that? Who is that? Who is not a servant to anyone? That presence is our true nature. That is what we must be serving. Kar bandgi nirbandh ki, pal mein le chudaye. And when I am living from that presence within, it is not a possibility that I trap other people in my expectations, demands, and relationships. Then relationships are flowering of a sharing of joy, a sharing of delight. So it is when we are living with this ignorance, living in the ego self, it is limiting ourselves to the little body. I am this little body, and if there is something that happens to little body, I am threatened. That is how we live. It is limiting ourselves to the little body. And if I am so afraid of preserving this body, then whether we live or die, it's actually worse than death, because I'm not even truly living. I'm just fearful and anxious of protecting myself. Where is the life? I'm just continuously missing life, living in the thoughts of fear, doubt, and suspicion. Where I have met life? I have never met life. Because fear, anxiety, doubt, suspicion, all of that is the domain of the mind. And when I am in the domain of the mind, I am actually missing out on meeting life. As Jyotsna Di was sharing, that when I'm in the shower and I'm thinking of all the other things, again in the mental domain, I am missing out on the shower. And similarly, if I am living a life and all the time thinking about past and thinking about things done to me and my little self, I've forever missed this beautiful life. Forever. I have never even met my own pain, because when pain came, I wasn't meeting pain. I was in thoughts of thinking about pain. So even pain, sorrow, sadness, which we think that we have lived with them enough, we have never met them. And that is why they don't, they refuse to go away, because they have never been met. The visitors, the friends have never been met. So thinking about a thing is escaping the thing. When we are in bodily presence, viscerally with the thing, yes, I am here, bring it on. Only then the meeting happens. So this is what is coming out of the ignorance, coming out of the thought patterns and beliefs and ideas and images, right? And then this is so beautiful that to remember that I do not only dwell in one body, but every body of the universe. And this is what we were also talking in our latest sessions. The presence of this knowing. I know the animating presence within each one of us. That presence is continuous presence. It's like we were talking in the last prayer, that if a tsunami comes, and there are these buildings, separate 100 buildings, and the tsunami sweeps away the buildings. What is remaining is the space, and the space is continuous. There is no break in the space. But while the buildings were there, it appeared as if the space is partitioned, one house, second house, third house. And this is how in our life we appear as individuals. So imagine ourselves as separate buildings. It may appear that our awareness is not shared, but the moment tsunami comes and takes away the buildings, the form is gone. There itself I see that the space was forever continuous. So the awareness, the knowing light of awareness is forever a continuity, a continuing thread of oneness that is connecting each one of us. Otherwise, what we have is variety. This is the thread of oneness. And then we can see unity in diversity. This is the unity in diversity, because we all have beautiful, varied ways of manifesting that beauty only. But most of the time, it is just distorted by the ego. The beauty gets distorted by the filter of the ego. So the life that we are aiming at, the life that we are trying to live more and more in our daily lives, is a life of that light of awareness, the light of pure knowing of the being shines through without the curtain of the ego. The curtain of the ego dissolves more and more, more and more. There is more refinement and purity coming. So that is what we must do, whether it's a challenging time or even utilizing those challenging times. Thou art all, everywhere and in all, and this body which acts is thy body, is thy own body, just as the visible universe in its entirety. It is thou who breathest, thinkest, and lovest in this substance, which being thyself desires to be thy willing servant. Now, this is so beautiful, that who is breathing through me? Who is hearing through these ears? Who is thinking through me? Who is the thinker? Go deeper, go deeper. And the mind is absorbed in the purifying stillness. Who is watching through the physical eyes? What is this animating presence? And then the mind is again absorbed in that depth of the being. There we must rest more and more, so that it becomes our reality, and ego sheds away. Ego stops being our reality. And again, Alugda shares that what matters is not how many years we live. What matters is what is the richness of the life that I am living. Each day, am I living it really fully? Or am I just escaping it by thinking about things and domains and people and situations? Because when I am thinking, I am not living life. It may appear very paradoxical for a mind who is used to think. But even Sri Aurobindo, when he was writing Savitri, he says that, clearly says that thinking is something I have left far ago, far long ago. Why? Why? The mind is still there, but now the mind is a servant of the heart. Mind is serving as a receptacle for the dawning of the light of knowledge. Mind is not having a mind of its own, like, the monkey mind, just being restless from here to there. Mind has been put to rest owing to the identification with its own true source. That is how mind comes to rest. Mind turns back within and goes back and merges in its source. Just like a moth goes to the flame and merges in the flame. Now the moth is not there anymore. Just like that, the mind, when it turns inwards, away from the object's sense perceptions, when it turns inwards towards its source, it dissolves in the source. There we experience either momentary, satisfaction, contentment, and stillness. That is where we must work more and more from. That is the domain of pure knowing. I know. Why do I know? What is the reason? I don't know. I just know. That is where that should become more and more of our life. Yeah, so anything from this prayer, and then we move on to the second half of the next prayer. Okay. So let's move on then. November 26th. Yes.
I
Yes.
think, Monica, here also, I mean, at the end of this prayer, what we realize is if we apply a kind of a mindfulness and an awareness in even the minor things we do, and we do them in silence, in a quietness within,
Yeah.
everything is perceived as something different.
Different. Yeah.
It takes a different meaning. I mean, rather it has a different impact on us totally.
Totally. Yes.
Small things, very small, minor things. But if we just in silence and mindfulness, or whatever you call it, awareness, do a small act also, it takes a different stance.
Totally. Totally. I think that is
So,
exactly what is coming up in the first passage that you are hinting at. Yeah. Just like you shared that the quality of experience changes when I am doing anything, when I am living a life out of this inner incompletion, living as an incomplete self, or living as one who knows that nothing can be added on to me. I am enough. So, living from that contentment and ease within changes the quality of the same experience. And that is what is coming in the first paragraph. It is thou that makest the experience fertile, thou who renderest life progressive, thou who compellest the darkness to vanish in an instant before the light. What is the light? The light of seeing, the light of witnessing. And it is, don't mistake these words. I hope we don't mistake the words, but it appears that witnessing must be some activity that I have to do. No, witnessing is forever happening. Witnessing is like that space that is left or seen, not left actually, that the space that is seen when the buildings are gone by the tsunami. So witnessing is forever happening, but the clamor of the mind is so huge that that witnessing aspect is in the background mostly. It's like, imagine this screen, imagine the screen where we watch movies, right? The screen is forever there even when the movie is going on. I cannot say then that when the movie was going on the screen was absent. Movie was happening on the screen. So witnessing is not some other activity that I have to pursue, because then there will be times when I am witnessing, and then there will be times when I'm not witnessing. I have to realize more and more that witnessing is that ever present screen on which all the drama is happening. So when the clamor of the ego, when the noise of the thoughts settles down, I see that I forever was witnessing. A witnessing was continuously going on, whether I was aware or unaware of the witnessing. It goes on irrespective of me being aware, where I take awareness as an activity. So don't mistake, we must not mistake awareness as another activity to do in my life. What am I doing? I am being aware. We have to realize that it is more of a passivity. As mother says, that receptivity is extreme passivity. So all the doings of the mind, the restless mind, makes us do things in life, complete it so that I feel restful. That is what I follow most of my life. The desire comes and I say complete it, only then I will feel restful. So when the clamor of this noise of the mind has settled down, then I see that, oh my God, witnessing was forever present. I was never absent. This I, which I call as witnessing presence, the true I that we are, that is what we have to, go to. Yes.
So, Monica, here the light is always present, but
Yes.
we choose to look at the darkness created by ego. Is that what you're saying?
So I am saying that sky is always there. It's my free will which is making me either focus or identify myself as the clouds, the dark clouds,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
identifying myself as the sky. There comes the free will. And
Hmm.
darkness or dark clouds are me and my story. All the drama of the life is that dark clouds. And when I see more and more that, oh my God, I have never been absent from life. If I look since my childhood, I have forever been there. So what should be the I? Should it be the dark clouds or should it be the sky? Because the sky has forever been present. The scenes have been changing. So the more and more I identify as the background witnessing, I see that the drama continues to change and I have almost nothing to do with the drama. In the drama, I may be wounded, but who I am is never touched so far. And the more and more I live as that witnessing presence, which forever is there, and I have never lost myself, even in the moments of unawareness and depression, I have never lost myself. I can never lose myself. The more and more I settle in that space, the more I see that the external clouds, the dark clouds of drama and situations, they lose grip over me. They stop being my identity. This is what I'm saying, right? So far, they have been my identity. And that is why I was suffering, because I was identifying at a wrong place. And the intelligence was telling me, identifying at a wrong place. You are not that cloud. You are not that cloud. It is only passing fleeting things. You are the screen. You are the sky. Know yourself as that. And that's how suffering comes as a blessing, because it tells me, red light, as if a signal comes. Yes, Tarun.
Yeah, I'm reading a book these days. Forces. What's the do you remember?
Yeah,
It's
the hidden
about the
truth of
the
nature.
hidden forces. Thank you. So dumb of me. Okay, so yeah, so in that, they said like the example that you use a lot, that waves and ocean. So they said that the material form that we can see and the thoughts and the feelings and the mind is the wave, right? And that's all we, like, especially when we are in a regular, normal consciousness, can see. But the day, it changes when you're able to see the subtle, then you realize that how deep you are. Like a
Yes.
single wave is as deep as the ocean, but you are incapable of seeing it because of the waves and the consciousness. But you keep, just that, like when you were talking, it came to me.
And here comes the aspect of so-called free will, because not at not every phase of life I will be phase of life I will be ready to use the opportunity of free will, in the sense that recognizing that yes, I see that clouds come and go, but who I am never comes and goes. So what am I? Am I the thought? No, I am not the thought, because thought comes and goes. Am I the feelings? No, I am not the feelings, because feelings come and goes, and I have been there unchanging since my childhood. Am I the body? The body undergoes so many changes, but I have forever felt complete. This awareness, the pure knowing, is forever there. Seems like it is there in the background because it is a silence presence. So the more and more I become capable of understanding this, only then I become capable of using the free will, that, oh, I was attaching myself as I was the cloud, I was the feeling, I was the thought. And now I have this opportunity to know myself and live as that unchanging element that has never changed. that can never be incomplete, that has forever been there, that has never left me. And this is the security that we all seek when we become insecure in relationships. This is the security that we seek, because relationships forever will be insecure, because people come and go. Who knows, your best mate would be there and then he's gone. Who knows? Relationships do come and go. Material objects do come and go. Situations do come and go. So there we cannot find security that we are looking for. Where can I find this security? Because security is my nature, and that is why it is okay to seek it. But it is not okay to seek it in fleeting things and persons. Where to find this security? And then something dawns on me. Yes, that's true. Only I, this element that I call I, not my story I, this unchanging I that I call myself, has been the only secure element in my life so far, that has never ever left me. And there we come back home to ourselves. And now begins the new life. A life which is more pure and rid of the mixture of the ego. Because the ego was forever wanting to be secure and it never found security. And now we have given ego or the mind the ultimate security. So there is no reason for the ego to be existing. It has found its rest. So this is what this first para talks of, that it is thou that makest the experience fertile. That how do I make any experience fertile? When there is some progression going on through that experience. Now whenever I'm going through an experience, I can go through it in two different ways. Only two possibilities are there, not three. One possibility is that I am in the mind and I totally stick to the thoughts. Yes, the thoughts are real and my story is very real. I will stick to it. And that way, experience just bypasses me. It does not give me something, and that is why life feels so monotonous. But when, alongside having thoughts going up and down, I also have a deep connection within, that there is something more to this experience than what I am able to see. This humility is there. That yes, I see that this experience is there. Something more life has to tell me. There, one makes the experience fertile. So approach everything in life as a infant approaches, with wonder, with amusement, with question, with inquisition in eyes. Oh my God, what a magic! What is happening? I have no clue what is happening. Let's see what life is in store for me. So almost approaching each and every aspect of our life in wonderment. Just like a wonder is present in the very eyes of a child, a little child, maybe 2 3 4 years old. And slowly then it, if I don't know, if by the grace of God it can stay for longer, but then it kind of fades away. As the conditioning become more and more heavy on the child, that wonderment phases away. So when we approach life as that, then every experience is fertile experience. It progression, it kind of gives us a progression in life. Right? And this is something which I almost always share whenever I'm sharing about my own journey with cancer also, that the best immunity is to find and live as much as possible your inner presence. That is the best source of immunity. Because I have seen people who are themselves diet experts. They do so much with nutrition, and yet they are facing health issues. There is no surety that just by changing the material elements of nature, I will be having a life which is full of health. There is no surety. But when we connect more and more with the deeper essence and live as that deeper essence and not as a separate individual which is threatened by the universe, when we live more and more as that, then whatever life we have, even if it is a shorter life, is lived in a fullness. is not lived in a threat, a continuous threat. What will happen? What will happen? I am actually truly living. So I would not care if tomorrow I die. We only fear for tomorrow that I may die or I may not live, because now I know that I am not living. Something in me already knows that I am missing out on life. So I become fearful of future. कि चलो अभी तो जी नहीं रहे यार, आगे वाले आने समय में तो जी लें कम से कम, और उसका कोई भरोसा है नहीं. You don't even know tomorrow comes or not. So why not give today and whatever moments we have our fullest, and live from the deepest places that we can go, live from there. There is nothing, Alokda shares here, there is nothing which can resist this divine influence and power once we begin more and more to live as that divine presence. This is the beauty. Thou everywhere and always, nothing but thou in the essence and in the manifestation. Now this is the collaboration of inner and the outer. It's like, I'm now beginning to recognize more and more myself as not the body, not the mind and feelings, but the divine essence. And now the challenge as human being in this life is to bring out in manifestation. So that is what is shared in the prayer, in the essence, and although also in the manifestation. So when I begin to transmit that essence out, that is also a responsibility, that is our birthright. And this is the walk that we need to, kind of a path that we need to walk upon. And it is a joy purely. All of us know that it is a joy to keep connecting to this divine presence and then trying to, kind of more and more make it our life. Yes. O shadow and illusion, dissolve. Like a commandment almost, O shadow, O illusion, dissolve. O suffering, fade and disappear. Lord Supreme, art thou not there? So more and more, whenever challenge, we are sucked away in challenge, resting in this deep space within where the mind cannot connect dots. But you know that this is the right place to rest. As Chitraji was also sharing in the beginning, bathing in the Lord, bathing yourself in the divine presence of the Mother, bathing yourself, basking in this inner stillness more and more, more and more. Right? And whatever shadow, whatever illness, all the falsehood, it is just an illusion. It is like a veil that has come, just like today in Gurgaon, it's cloudy. Now, when it is cloudy, it does not mean that the sun is not there. Sun is forever there, burning and shining. So when I have these dark moments or dark challenges going about in my life, can I also bask in that warmth of the sun, which is forever present behind the wheel? And slowly we see that the time passes by and the clouds are scattered and the sun is shining again. So knowing ourselves more and more as that divine presence, the sun that is warm, no matter whether the weather is cold or not. The sun is always warm, basking in that warmth. Yes, and this Taru already shared this in the beginning, that whenever pain and suffering is there, use it wisely, because it is there for a reason. The only reason the suffering is there is telling me you have identified yourself as at a wrong place. You are not that which you think yourself to be. Come back home, come back home. And the moment I come back home, suffering disappears like a mirage, as if it was not even there. It actually feels like an illusion. How on earth was it there when there is so much of warmth here, right here? I did not have to do anything. So it actually appears like just clouds, as if they're masking the sky, nothing else. So this is how suffering has to be used. Yeah. And again, not to, yes, Chitraji.
Yeah, and Savitri also, that line is there, no? Her own calamity, its private sign. Of her pants, she made a mystic poignant sword.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, page number 9 it is. Actually.
Yes.
Those lines, Alokda's lines reminded me of this line also.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. Yes, yes, exactly that. Yeah. And then, we must not lose these opportunities which come so often in our life, just like this global crisis has come. Now it is so easy to get back into older patterns, because the older patterns are just waiting, lurking around the corner to, ki ho to gaya sab theek, now everything is okay, why do I need to change? But people who are ready, those of us who are ready to transform us through this sensitivity, they must embark on this journey, knowing that yes, our life is fleeting and fragile. There is no surety. So let us use the opportunity to find the ultimate surety in each moment. And that is the only one surety. And begin to live our life more and more from that space. Yeah. And each one of us matters. Here Kalugda shares, each one of us, when brings it out from within, helps this world move a step further. So do not think that mere karne se kya hoga, or I'm such a little fellow, and how would that make a difference? First of all, it makes a difference in our lives. And then secondly, it is not possible that the fragrance of a flower, not people around are not touched by it. So what is important for me is just to be a flower and blossom, keep on blossom like a flower. First of all, it changes my life, and rest is the side effects, the byproducts. It radiates, it's a reverse contagion. And if we really want to spread a contagion, let us spread love, let us spread this flowering and blossoming of the being. Let us spread more and more this, rather than the fears and doubts and suspicions about the virus, right? It is our choice. What do we want to spread?
Yes, living lights you are doing, no? Really, this reminded me actually these lines.
Yeah. I think all of us, the journey that we have undertaken, in some way or the other, it is not possible that it is not affecting the life around. Brings more and more peace in harmony in our relationships, and also day-to-day contentment, the quality changes. So just going through the last paragraph. Thou, everywhere and always, nothing but thou, in the essence and in the manifestation. O shadow and illusion, dissolve. O suffering, fade and disappear. Lord Supreme, art thou not there? So these were the second halves of the prayers that we have read. I think for us, this is good enough. For those of us who want to actually go deeper, they read the prayers and they can contemplate on it. So there are two prayers today, and hence I would like to request two of you, if possible, to read one by one both the prayers. And if there are any comments, that too please share.
Yes, may I go ahead with the
Yes,
prayer?
please.
November 19th, 1912. I said yesterday to that young Englishman who is seeking for thy with so sincere a desire that I had definitely found thee, that the union was constant. Now, this is so beautiful. It's, mother encouraging that I have done it, so it is possible. If I'm wrong here, can you correct me?
Beautiful. Yes, yes, totally. Yes. Yeah.
Such is indeed the state of which I am conscious. All my thoughts go towards thee. All my acts are consecrated to thee. Thy presence is for me an absolute, immutable, invariable fact, and thy peace dwells constantly in my heart. Yet I know that this state of union is poor and precarious compared with that which it will become for me to which will it will become for me possible for me to realize tomorrow. And I am as yet far, no doubt very far, from that identification in which I shall totally lose the notion of that I which I still use in order to express myself, but which is each time a constraint, like a term unfit to express the thought that is seeking for expression. It seems to me indispensable for human communication, but all depends on what this I manifests, and how many times already, when I pronounce it, it is thou who speakest in me, for I have lost the sense of separativity. But all this is still in embryo and will continue to grow towards perfection. What an appeasing assurance there is in this serene confidence in thy Almighty. Thou art all, everywhere and in all, and this body which acts is thy own body, just as is the visible universe in its entirety. It is thou who breathest, thinkest, lovest in this substance, which, being thyself, desires to be thy willing servant.
Yes, beautiful. So now just shortly touching upon this realization that Mother talks of here, that the I that is manifesting is not the ego self. Mother is becoming more and more, that is what she is sharing with us, with so much of humility. The Divine Mother herself, she's sharing that this I represents more of that unchanging element that connects each one of us, and that is why there is no separativity in that. And this can actually be used in our day-to-day interactions. Imagine that you are maybe meeting a friend or talking to a person or a relative or a family member. Immediately, if you just become conscious of when you say I, in that very moment, who is the I that you are referring to? Are you referring to your past, present, future, the ego self? Or are you referring to the pure, shining knowing, the light of knowing? What is the I being represented? And there itself, the quality of the conversation immediately has the power to transform. You will not be taking it personally. The personally and getting hurt, getting victimized, that will actually not come into picture. It will not be possible for us to go there. So this is what which can be our day to day sadhana, because one is the mental recognition of me as that pure light, the background screen, and the other is the practice, more and more a lived practice. So this is what Mother is sharing here. Yeah. Who would like to read the next one?
I will go. November 26, 1912. What a hymn of thanksgiving should I not be raising at each moment unto Thee! Everywhere and in everything around me, Thou revealest Thyself, and in me Thy will and consciousness express themselves always more and more clearly, even to the point of my having almost entirely lost the gross illusion of me and mine. If a few shadows, a few flaws, can be seen in the great light which manifests Thee, how shall they bear for long the marvellous brightness of thy resplendent love. This morning, the consciousness that I had of the way thou art fashioning this being, which was I, can be roughly represented by a great diamond cut with regular geometrical facets, a diamond in its cohesion, firmness, pure limpidity, transparency, but a brilliant and radiant flame in its intense, ever progressive life. But it was something more, something better than all that. For nearly all sensation, inner and outer, was exceeded, and that image only presented itself to my mind as I returned to conscious contact with the outer world. It is thou that makest the experience fertile, thou who renderest life progressive, thou who compelled the darkness to vanish in an instant before the light, thou who givest to love all its power, thou who everywhere raisest up matter in this ardent and wonderful aspiration, in this sublime thirst for eternity. Thou everywhere and always, nothing but thou, in the essence and in the manifestation. O shadow and illusion, dissolve. O suffering, fade and disappear. Lord Supreme, art thou not there?
So just again, kind of reinforcing these few lines. There may be more. Please go through at leisure at home again. This is the light of pure loving knowing. If a few shadows, a few flaws can be seen in the great light which manifests thee, how shall they bear for long the marvelous brightness of thy resplendent love? Now when mother shares that love is the only transformative power, and love is the essence of our true nature. We are nothing but that love. So the more and more we begin to align ourselves, if I can use the word align, because for now we have aligned ourselves with the egos, right? So the more and more I know myself as that light or pure light of love, the light of knowing. In that witnessing presence, whatever flaws I may be seeing in my outer nature, when I keep on holding them in my embrace, mother's sharing, how shall they bear for long the marvelous brightness of thy resplendent love? It is not possible that whatever needs to be shattered, whatever needs to be transformed, is not transformed when I give it embrace, when I give it my loving space. It is not a possibility. So even when I have pain and suffering and challenge in life, when I become comfortable with the suffering, I'm not saying that I am comfortable with the thinking about suffering, that we have already excluded. When I know that yes, some kind of a discomfort is there, and I am allowing a loving space for that discomfort to be there, not going into the thinking of me and my story, then that suffering sublimates, it transforms, it transfigures itself into what it was forever, in essence, that is pure love. It goes back into its source and experience it. Don't take my words, or don't take the words, unless we experience it for ourselves in our practical experiences in life, because only then these words have any meaning to us. Only then we have a conviction that yes, I know this is true. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Okay, so if there are any comments, we can take them, or if not, thank you for the session. Thank you for joining.
Thank you,